The girl just put her hand in the pure sea, and the next second there was a terrifying scene. Countless fish are gathered around the fishing boat. They seem to be summoned by some kind of power of a girl. They come to the side and do not want to disperse. The fishermen who witness this miracle do not hesitate to show their greedy and selfish smiles on their faces. With the girl, they only have 2.5 days a year. They can't finish the net fishing for half a year. And the girl Ella has a lot of supernatural powers, beyond your imagination. 10 years ago, villagers found a cut-off fishing boat by the sea. The old village chief rushed into the shipwreck. He suddenly found a female inside, which was the later Ella. Everyone was terrified. They couldn't believe it. The female was still breathing when she was hit by the seawater to the shore. And what was even more amazing was the village chief who had just been scratched on the belly. He suddenly recovered as if he had never been injured. This is the first time everyone has felt Ella's power. The village chief and his wife have no children. The couple raised Ella as their own daughter. 10 years have passed in a blink of an eye. Since Ella appeared, the people on the island no longer have to work hard to catch fish. The fishermen only need to take Ella out of the sea twice a year to eat enough for a year. Just reach your hand into the sea and you can attract tens of thousands of small fish and automatically dive into the net. There is always a long line at the door of Ella's house every day. If there is a headache, fever, internal injury, or external injury, as long as you get close to Ella, you will be healed instantly. There are Ella villagers who live a long life and no longer spend money. In order to keep the secret of little fox Bodhisattva, the child has been brainwashed since childhood and stays on the island for a lifetime. Adults monitor and observe every day. Once they find a shipwreck in the distance, the scout will knock and give a warning. All the lights in the town must be turned off to prevent the outside world from knowing the existence of the island. In order to relieve the boring island life, men hold boxing matches every night. It doesn't matter if it's a head-to-head fight. Anyway, as long as you get close to Ella, you will be healed instantly. And the grandmother and mother are also inseparable from her. It's rare for her to go out alone and be afraid of any accidents. It's the nature of children to be greedy. This day, Ella and the best boy secretly came to the mountain. What kind of life experience is it? To sing and chat in the distant land? However, they can't leave the island for the rest of their lives. Soon, the idea of leaving the island was dispelled. Unintentionally, Ella found a moth nest on the tree that she had never seen before. Under the drive of curiosity, she put her arm on it. The moth of the world changed the nature of the world. To crawl over his arm gently, the boy saw the scene and was shocked. He didn't want the moth to surround him. He was so scared that he shouted to Ella for help. In a hurry, Ella held her fist tightly and screamed. Unexpectedly, a never-before-seen power suddenly broke out. When Ella looked in the mirror, the moth was already dead. Although it was just a group of moths, Ella didn't know that she had the ability to kill that day. She was also very scared. After calming down, she quickly asked the boy to keep the secret for her. The boy, who was obedient and sensible, seriously promised her. But he didn't know that this also buried the trouble for the island. The bear children on the island are not at all worrisome. This day, Jean Mao actually incited the girl to eat poisonous nuts. Anyway, as long as you find the living Bodhisattva Ella, nothing will happen. But the girl knew that the real courage was to protect herself, not to challenge the danger. Jean Mao didn't want to grab the poisonous nut and eat it. Then everyone ran to Ella's house together. Jean Mao didn't want to, but the poison began to break out. It turned out that Ella went fishing today. Not long after, Jean Mao fell to the ground due to the poison. Everyone hurriedly sent him to the clinic. The doctor, who hadn't opened his mouth for 10 years, opened Shenfeng's medicine cabinet and put the tube into his mouth. Soon, all the poisonous nuts were sucked out. The mother thought that Jean Mao's son was out of danger. She didn't want to find out that her son lost his breath. The doctor quickly pulled the tube out and made Jean Mao's heart recover immediately. But there was no effect. At this time, Ella, who had gone out to sea, had already come back. The parents abandoned each other. They left the last hope in Ella. The father also looked at Ella with firm eyes, hoping that his daughter would create a miracle. She touched Jean Mao as usual, but her power could only restore health, not resurrect. This was the first time in 10 years that someone died. Loneliness enveloped a layer of sadness. It lingered in Ella's heart for a long time and could not be dispersed. Although no one blamed Ella, the kind Ella blamed everything on herself. She thought that if she hadn't gone out to sea to fish, she wouldn't have made a tragedy. If it weren't for her existence, Jean Mao wouldn't have eaten the poisonous nuts. It's normal for the father to comfort his daughter, but it's not his fault. But Ella's mood didn't improve at all. The father also hoped that his daughter could get emotional value from her mother. The mother who didn't want to cook accidentally cut her finger. This wasn't a big problem at first, but the wound didn't heal. It immediately showed the color of fear. The father also realized that the problem was wrong. Usually, as long as Ella is around, the wound can be healed instantly as long as it doesn't die. Did Ella lose her power? To verify his guess, the father also gave the chief a knife. As expected, his daughter lost her power. That night, as the village chief's father, he held an emergency meeting. He asked that the clinic, that had been closed for 10 years, should start operating immediately. The doctor was happy to serve everyone, but the villagers were confused. After all, they hadn't seen a doctor for 10 years until the village chief raised his hand. Everyone dared not believe that a good day would come to an end like this. But the fact was, Ella was too shocked and lost her power. As a father, he knew that his daughter needed rest most now. Besides, Ella has let everyone live a healthy life for 10 years for free. They've lived comfortably thanks to Ella's healing power. For the past 10 years, people should learn to be content, otherwise they will be devoured by greed. But the villagers, who are used to being carefree, suddenly exploded like they suddenly lost an iron rice bowl. They accused the village chief of being the biggest beneficiary. What right do you have to accuse everyone? For the past 10 years, due to Ella's company, you two haven't changed at all. However, as a father, he won't make any concessions. Unexpectedly, at this time, Ella's grandmother suddenly stood up. She thought that Ella was the common property on the island. The village chief had no right to decide whether Ella should rest unless everyone raised their hands to vote. The village chief couldn't believe that his grandmother would say such nonsense. He asked his grandmother why she became so inhumane. His granddaughter is a person, not a machine that serves everyone. However, under his grandmother's encouragement, everyone still voted. As a result, only one person agreed that Ella should rest. Other people, except for the golden-haired parents, voted that Ella should continue to work. According to the principle of minority obedience to the majority, the village chief chose to compromise despite his dissatisfaction. The 40-year-old bearded couple came to visit. After losing their golden-haired son, they had a hard time staying on the island for a day. They hoped that the village chief would approve their departure and promise that he would never tell anyone about Ella's secret. But the village chief knew very well that only the dead could keep the secret. He refused the couple on the spot. The couple insulted the village chief as a coward. This also laid the foundation for the tragedy of the whole village later. Because Ella lost her power, her grandmother, who was originally an old fool, soon became insane. This was also the reason why he insisted on letting Ella work. Human nature can never withstand any test. Not to mention Ella's care for her grandmother's late life. On the other hand, the righteous doctor secretly ordered his son and Ella to watch a movie in the secret room in order to relieve Ella's emotions. To know that beautiful things are precious. If the child on the island is curious about the outside world, the adult will never want to trap the child. And in the process of watching the movie, Ella finally showed her long-awaited smile. After the mother comforted her daughter Ella to sleep, she was surprised to find that the wound healed in an instant. She immediately called the village chief's husband. She didn't want her husband to enter her daughter's room. The wound also recovered instantly. It turned out that as long as the daughter slept soundly, the power came back. The wife immediately thought of picking up Ella's grandmother. Let Ella cure her grandmother's old age. But the calm village chief first thought of protecting his daughter. He told his wife that once the secret was exposed, his daughter would become a tool on the island and have no freedom to speak. The wife promised her husband that she would keep the secret. The village chief believed that his wife would never betray him. He didn't want his wife to turn around and secretly picked up his mother. He took his daughter to Ella's room. The instant recovery treatment made his grandmother healthy again. She breathed the air of freedom. She enjoyed a relaxed and healthy body. His wife thought she did a great job, but she still woke up her husband, who was asleep. His wife didn't want to explain much. She just said that it was his mother and he had no choice. But his grandmother's next choice was to continue to fall into the abyss of greed. The next day, he threatened the village chief to either let Ella continue to serve everyone or wait for everyone to come to force Ella to work. The village chief couldn't imagine that his grandmother would become so cruel. His grandmother came up with an evil idea. That is to give Ella sleeping pills. The village chief was furious. But what could he do with his grandmother who was old? He accused his wife of not telling his grandmother the secret. He didn't want his wife to stand on his grandmother's side. He also said that many people were taking sleeping pills. But Ella was only a 10-year-old child. His father knew that the people on the island had no morality and had long been occupied by greed. Maybe in the future, he will treat Ella as a test subject, just to get the power on him. The village chief persuaded his wife to leave the island secretly with him. He didn't want his wife to be no longer a good person. He just wanted everything to go back to the way it was. The village chief was cowardly. He said that he didn't do anything for his daughter. In the face of his wife's insistence to stay on the island, the village chief made a compromise again. Once a person is addicted to a comfortable and happy life, he will not be able to get out of it. His wife, who was greedy for health and suffered a lot, crushed the pills with her palm and gave her daughter the medicine that had been with her all her life. Then they carried Ella, who was asleep, to the shore. The grandmother led the villagers to perform a seemingly sacred prayer. He used his gorgeous palm to hide his greedy nature. The villagers expressed their sincere gratitude. In fact, they just took it as a means of production to get peace. Ella, who was asleep, snuck into the sea to attract the fish. The villagers lived a carefree life. Again, everyone was very happy and satisfied. Only the father was in low blood. He seemed to bear the grievances of the whole world with a sad face. But he didn't have the courage to fight to death. He missed the precious opportunity to save his daughter again and again. One day, a brave doctor came to the village chief. He asked him to come to the Big Beard's house at night to discuss the countermeasures. It turned out that the couple who lost their son had been secretly building a small ship. If the village chief drove the couple away, he could have burned Ella. But they didn't know that their every move had long been monitored by the grandmother. On the same day, the grandmother came to the doctor's house as a guest. Before Ella appeared, the grandmother had been seeing the doctor here. After more than 10 years of medical care, they were like family to each other. The kind doctor said that he didn't want to see the innocent Ella become a tool. He is still a child and should leave the island to have his own life. But the grandmother sounded like she had eaten gunpowder. Without Ella's company, he couldn't survive on the island. And the doctor actually didn't want to leave the island. He has lived in the island for half his life. He promised to stay with his grandmother until she was buried. The grandmother was moved to tears. He held the doctor tightly in his arms. He didn't expect that there would be such a pure and kind old man in the world. Since his wife passed away, the doctor has long been a cement letter. He plans to spend the rest of his life on the island with his son. If there is desire, there must be pain. If there is no desire, there must be peace. A cup of wine is enough to heal the world. But what he didn't expect was that the grandmother would poison the wine. The doctor fell to the ground. The greed of humanity mixed with the poison instantly penetrated his organs. A shot at the bottom of his heart forced him to have no place to stay. He had to spit from his mouth and turn into oil. The couple on the other side saw a fierce fire burning outside the window. Their escape plan had to start right away. It turned out that the vicious grandmother had set the doctor's house on fire. I put you in my heart. You put your brother in the fire. At this moment, he still had a little moral deficit in his heart. But the villagers' collective team behind him made his greedy flame burn to the point of fearlessness. Everyone on the scene was terrified. In fact, they all hoped that the doctor who did not get along with the group would not die well. Only the doctor's son seemed to have eaten a chicken. He couldn't understand that his father had been kind to the villagers all his life. Why was he forced to eat the villagers' evil fruit in the end? Fortunately, the two big-bearded men escaped from the island in a boat. It was like a lightning that was about to break through the darkness of the island. I hope the punishment from heaven will come sooner. A few days later, a patrol boat came to the island. For more than 10 years, no strangers had been seen. The villagers took out their weapons and prepared for battle. The patrol took the archer to the shore. The couple who had escaped reported that the villagers in the island had abused Ella. The villagers surrounded the island and would never let Ella be taken away by outsiders. The patrol also smelled the murderous aura and was ready for battle. On the other side, the archer went upstairs to ask if Ella was hurt. At this time, Ella had no idea that the grandmother had fed her medicine every night. But from what he said, the archer still heard that Ella was like a tame tool. He wanted to take Ella's family back to the city for a detailed investigation. How could the villagers let go of their living bodhisattva? The battle between the two sides broke out. The big-bearded man took the gun first. The patrol also reacted quickly. The village chief didn't want to see the bloodshed. He stood between justice and evil and tried to find a balance. He didn't want the evil villagers to control the archer at the moment. And in a panic, the righteous patrol accidentally shot the village chief in the chest. And the big, bearded man fired without hesitation. The patrol fell to the ground and died. It's hard for a person who doesn't dare to fight evil to get justice. This is the tomb of the week. Village Chief. The village chief was in a daze and came to the door of the dead god's house. At this time, the grandmother didn't save the village chief right away, but to threaten the other party. Ella must stay on the island forever. The village chief between life and death made a promise to everyone. The grandmother brought a cup of sleeping pills upstairs. The mother went over to persuade her daughter Ella to drink it, otherwise the village chief's father would die. Neither of them wanted to break the secret of the power in Ella's dream, but forced Ella to take medicine. There was not much time left for the village chief. Ella couldn't get the power until she fell asleep. The mother and daughter were still forcibly feeding the medicine. The doctor's son, who had been hiding behind the door, couldn't stand it anymore. He asked Ella's grandmother why she wanted to kill the doctor's father. The greedy grandmother is still lying to herself now, saying that the doctor and she are like a family. How could she be the murderer? But the pure child has already seen through the emperor's disguise. There is no moral bottom line and legal restriction. The grandmother is like a greedy beast in human clothes. In order to avenge her father, the doctor's son pulled the trigger. In shock, Ella screamed and held her fist tightly like a group of bees. Are you all satisfied now? All the people on the island are united. Ella represents a kind of power that humans can't resist. Like the waves that keep appearing in the movie, it can bring the pleasure of surfing and the coolness of summer, but it can also easily kill everyone. It's a pity that the greedy villagers will never be satisfied. Even if they were to choose again, it would be difficult to escape the end of the village.